Good evening and welcome to a special edition of NUFC Matters. I hope you enjoyed Lee Clark a little bit earlier. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. I interviewed him a couple of days ago, and as always, Clark, he's very, very relevant. If you haven't tuned in before, my name's Steve Wraith. I'm the host, NUFC Matters. We do a show every night, and I've got a special guest tonight, as always. Tonight it is Tyler, who you might have seen on social media, Twitter in particular. Hadaway man who has been camped, it has to be said, outside the Premier League and Parliament this week so far, just to really, find Richard Masters and maybe find some politicians for us who can answer a few questions. So Tyler, good evening.
Evening, hello. Great to be on your super show.
Good stuff. Thanks for coming on, and you'll have to excuse the slight delay. Tyler's in his camp in a hotel down in London. The Wi-Fi, as most people will know, is never great in these hotels, but it's a slight delay. Tyler will get to all the questions, etc. So, Tyler, just a little bit about you. You're a Newcastle fan. We talked before you came on air. Same age as me, 13, 14, when you first got to see your games. You're from Whitley Bay originally. But big Newcastle fans first and foremost. You get to all the London-based games, don't you? Because obviously you live in the south.
That's right. Yeah, been a bit of a yo-yo in my lifetime, up and moving back down. But I'm happily married, living on the south coast now.
Yeah, great stuff, mate. Great stuff. So before we come to the questions, people will be sending questions in, and we're already seeing some lots of compliments. AJ. Great work, Tyler. James Brown, hello guys. Great work, Tyler. Quick question: has there been more Newcastle fans join your protest? We'll come to that a little bit later. What made you put your head above the parapet and go down to the Premier League, mate? Why do it?
So I couldn't sit at home and let some old boys network rob our beautiful region of such an amazing investment opportunity and a great legacy that the deal would bring. So basically, I had the idea. I did a bit of an options sort of risk appraisal. Option one, you can do it. What's the risk? You're going to look like an idiot. It might affect your income. Option two, don't do it and live in regret. So I spoke to my wife about it, and we've been in lockdown for 6 months, and to be honest, I think she was just happy to get us out of the house. And everyone's gone through the same. I think most women would agree.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things. I mean, in 13 years, I've been involved, at the forefront, and I've been involved in the background of various protests. I receive still to this day. It has to be said, a lot more from Sunderland fans and Newcastle fans these days. Stick about being a vicar. I get called reverend. I get all of that kind of abuse thrown at me. But I'm a proud I did it. Am I disappointed I did it? Well, sometimes I wake up and think, God, I wish I hadn't done that. But you know what? I stood up for what I believed in. I was campaigning against Mike Ashley. It was a conglomerate of supporters against Mike Ashley. The Mike Ashley Out group organised that event, and they needed somebody to go and speak as a vicar, and I volunteered, and I agreed with what they were doing, and I went up and did it. And it's something it's always going to be thrown at me, but it's about standing up what you believe in, and that's what you've done. So once your missus had said, yeah, go for it, and you'd made the decision to head down, what was your plans? Did you decide to go down outside the Premier League for one day? Have you got a bit of a plan as to what you're planning to do?
Well, I did have a bit of a plan. It was quite simplistic, really. It was learn how to use Twitter. I'd never done videos before, so it's all kind of new to me. I could hardly use Twitter. I mean, just as an example, the other day someone said to us, can you DM me? And they kept saying, like, this bloke, can you DM me? And I really want you to DM us. And, I was thinking, what is this? I thought it was some sort of hideous sexual request. And anyway, I had to Google what it meant, and I got there. So that was funny. And I just thought, I can catch the Premier League napping, and I think I've showed that they were hiding. I think they're amazingly disorganised and have been quite blasé about it all. They probably always go unchallenged. There's no scrutiny of them, not like every other organisation has to have. They just crack on with it and make these massive decisions.
Yeah, I mean, for some, go on. Go on.
So Premier League is a corporation, right? It's made up of the 20 clubs and 14 to ratify a decision. So, it's not a normal decision, this one. It's a massive, massive investment. And the problem is they're asking people that clubs that we're in competition with to help make that decision, which is absolute nonsense. If it was a public procurement, it just wouldn't be happening. It's supposed to be fair. It's supposed to be transparent and open. It's supposed to be free, and it's not. It's actually totally wrong. Somebody needs to step in, and I think it's Boris Johnson and the government. He's been going on about stepping up and all that sort of stuff. He got a load of votes in the Northeast, and he needs to do it. Well, whether he does is another thing.
Yeah, you're talking about political help and Boris Johnson. Of course, NUFC held a meeting last night, the Newcastle United Supporters Trust. A lot of supporters, including myself, who have, whether it's, people who run different organisations or groups. We all had a Zoom chat last night, which lasted for about an hour. Very positive. All the fans groups agreeing to work together with the trust leading it. And of course, this morning, the Strength in Numbers campaign, if you like, went out with a write to your MP and ask them to demand, transparency. And 4,000 letters, I can say now, have been sent from the Action Network. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Bearing in mind it hasn't actually been up 12 hours yet. The goal that was set was 6,400. So we only need another 2,399 letters written to MPs. And we've already seen MPs responding, on social media to say they've been inundated, their inboxes have been inundated. And I think that's fantastic. And of course, don't forget as well, the petition. It's very important, I think, for everybody to get to 100,000. We have the ongoing change.org petition, which is asking for an independent investigation into the English Premier League takeover process. Now, that currently stands at 82,148. It would be nice if we could get that to 100,000 by Friday. It would be fantastic. It's a numbers game. People are saying, what happens with this? Why do we need to do it? We do need to do it. We need to keep hammering home the message that this has been unfair. It is, it's not a fair, it's not a fair result in essence, and we need this looked at. Government is the right way. I think you're right, Tyler, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, just to say something about the human rights stuff, I think that's why the government are sort of scared to make the decision, and I think it's a total misnomer. I mean, you've got universities, University of Manchester, University of Birmingham, King's College London, you've got Queen's in Belfast, you've got companies like British Telecom, you've got Health and Education England, all funded by the Saudi government. And, our government in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office have a job specifically to attract Saudi investment to the UK. And, we've got conferences to about attracting Saudi investment. So why now? Why bring all this up now? I mean, is the investment in the health washing? Is the investment in education washing? No, it's not. Why are the Premier League making these massive decisions?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. A lot of people asking if PIF have officially pulled out. Look, the press statement that they put out, they had a press conference with all the local media, and it stipulates, yes, they have pulled out, but there is nothing stopping this deal being resurrected. It's down to a couple of simple issues by the sounds of it. But I can imagine the deal would be easily resurrected. But I think we're a long way from that. If you like the show, guys, please hit the thumb and also share it just so we can get a few more viewers on the broadcast. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. We do a show each night. You were down at the Premier League, and the reaction of the staff, Tyler, was quite interesting. I thought they would have been a little bit more aggressive. But how did you find them off camera? We know what they did on camera. What were they like off camera?
Well, that's important because, funnily enough, they were really quite friendly and quite nice. And obviously, on camera they want to do everything's right because it's not a nice position to be put in. But the men in suits sent them out there to say stuff. But people were really pleasant. In fact, when I turned up tonight, one of the women on the main reception bit sort of gives a really nice smile when I walk past, and the lads from the the entrance where we saw the guy from Prudhoe, they were all having a laugh, and they were quite pleasant, really. So absolutely fine, a-okay.
That's good. That's good. Dan Milne says he's sick of other teams' fans saying we want trophies. Yeah, that would be a plus. We want more than anything a strong Newcastle United and investment in the city. And I think the Rubens statement was very important, Tyler, wasn't it? Did you see that?
It was excellent, yeah. I mean, those guys know what they're doing. They are very successful businessmen. I mean, what you got to look at is the difference that the investment has made to Manchester. And the people from Manchester will tell you how much Manchester has transformed since this level of investment. That's why it's so important.
Yeah, a lot of support coming in. I mean, it must be great to see. I think it justifies your decision to go down there, Tyler, when you see this kind of feedback.
That's nice. It's great to have people give us a thumbs up, really. I've had some negative stuff though. I think you're probably going to ask us about that, aren't you? But I've had quite a lot of negative stuff. One in particular. There's only one person who got to me. So it was one of our Penny Weltonian friends, and basically, right. He said, "I found out who your employer is, and you've been saying that you're working from home while you're doing this. Going to get you sacked." And so basically, my reply, what a nasty piece of work, eh? Basically, my reply to him was, well, actually, I founded the company. I'm the managing director.
Brilliant. Yeah, listen, I gave you a little bit of advice before we came on. Trolls are part and parcel of it. You put your head above the parapet, you're there to be shot at. And sadly, it's part and parcel of it. Social media and Twitter in particular, it can be a fantastic forum, but it can also be a really nasty one. And if I don't block at least 25 people a day, I'll be very surprised. But out of those 25 people, I've got to be honest, I think probably 22 of them are probably the same person with 11 accounts. It's crazy. Others, I just don't like negativity.
Yeah, it took us a while to actually find the block button and use that. I found it now anyway. That's quite handy. But, I'm happy. I'm not here for a Twitter career. I have massive respect for what you guys do. I wouldn't be able to do it personally. Once this is all done and hopefully our club has been bought, I'm happy to slip back into obscurity. Although I do have one thing that, I'm currently writing a science fiction novel called The Hadrian Simulation. And maybe it's in a year's time when I'm finished it. It's set in Newcastle, by the way. Maybe it's in a year's time when I'm finished it. I might ask a few people to proofread it. And when it's done, if you want to buy it, Anyway, that's the plug over.
Good luck with that, mate. And you make sure you call the villain Richard Masters. That'll get you a few extra skills in Newcastle, I think. Andrew says, did you manage to get some water for your porridge this morning?
I didn't, unfortunately, mate. I have actually got quite a funny story about that. So I was getting the tube. I had this idea, right? I'm going to go to Guy Ritchie's pub in Mayfair. So I thought, right, I'm going to go along there and I'm to tweet him and see if he'll give us a retweet or whatever. But anyway, he doesn't own the pub anymore. I'd been there years ago, and so I headed off to Ed Sheeran. Yeah. So anyway, that was not his anymore. So I headed off to Ed Sheeran's place in Notting Hill, and on the tube on the way there, basically that porridge had sort of split in my bag, and it was on quite a busy tube, and all this white powder started falling out my bag, and so there's a pile of white powder, and everybody's looking at us on the tube, thinking, "Who's this guy?" And the funniest thing about it was this lad with dreadlocks opposite. I was going, "No, man, it's porridge dust, mate. It's porridge dust." And he was going, "Yeah, right, mate." That was funny anyway.
Right. Well, the new pub that Guy Ritchie has is actually called the Law of the Land, which is LORE. And I actually. That's his new pub, and I actually know the manager. So what I'm going to do after the show is I'll drop a message to my mate. He's a Spurs fan who runs that bar and restaurant. But if you need any water in your porridge, I'm sure he'll sort you out tomorrow, mate. But I'll let him know the full story, Tyler, and if he's up for it, I'll put you in touch.
Oh, lovely, thank you. Yeah,
I will do, mate, because it's that's a definite. But yeah, I go in the punch bowl quite a bit when I'm down there. That used to be owned by a few of my friends as well, so it's a lovely book. I've done a couple of book launches in there. Lots of positive messages there. Keep up the pressure on the Premier League, Tyler. Christopher, he says, great encouragement from me, Dad, today, which there was. He's been putting out a few tweets on his social media account. Of course, once we heard that the takeover had stalled or had halted, we heard from Jamie Rubin on Twitter, and we also heard from Amanda's husband. So yeah, it's good to see them at least putting something out there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I also found it very positive. This Pat Ritchie from the City Council, as I said earlier today. I mean, she's a heavy hitter. She basically used to be the chief executive of the Homes and Communities Agency after Bob Kerslake. Bob Kerslake's now sort of Lord Kerslake, and for years he was the head of the civil service. So she actually has, contacts right at the highest level of government, does Pat Ritchie. So I've got masses of confidence in her to be able to engage the right people. And I know that Bob Kerslake, he's actually chair of King's College, which I told you earlier actually gets quite a lot of Saudi investment, weirdly. But yeah, so I've got confidence in her. So I'm kind of thinking, well, these people, these big contacts, they're asking the questions. I need to slip in the background. Don't want to annoy anybody. I don't want to upset anybody. I think leave it to the people who have all these contacts, who know what they're doing, and see what happens. If it all screws up, then yeah, I can always come back and make a nuisance of myself. But I'm kind of thinking that, really.
Yeah, you've done a great job, mate, and you've highlighted things, and you brought it to people's attention on social media, which is what it's there for. P40 says the petition's been really slow today. It has. People don't forget we do need to get to 100,000 on that petition. It's a numbers game. It would be nice to get to that. It's 80,000 is fantastic, or 82,000 or what it's at now. But to get to 100,000 would be fantastic. So keep signing the petition. Lee asks, did they bring in security today, Tyler?
They did, yeah. That totally different security. They've obviously given the nice women that I spoke to the day off, and I had some big lads in, and they walked around the building a few times, eyeballing us and all that sort of stuff, But yeah, and also they put a lot of markings out, social distancing markings, and all sorts of stuff which they hadn't done previously, and that was all I think put there to keep me well away.
Little Musgrave says Tyler's not actually in a hotel. He's in Richard Masters' living room, waiting for him to approve the takeover before he agrees to untie him. You're clearly not. Steve Bennett, he says, any Newcastle fan that has a go at him needs to have a look at themselves in the mirror. He is at least making a statement for all disgruntled supporters, whether it works or not. Rafa Benitez is good. He says, Tyler has some courage, more than any of the negative people about it on Twitter. Michael says, fair play, Tyler. Keep up the great work. David Harrison says, top man, Tyler, you're doing what many are not brave enough to do. Well done. And then Simon asks a question. This has been something that's been put out quite a lot in recent shows. Would the EFL block it? Is it worth going down for a year? It's got to be said. Wigan's owners and directors test must have been done down the pub on the back of a cigarette packet, and it's just been approved. And look what happened to them. Well, Newcastle's has dragged on for 17 weeks. So, would it be worth a relegation, do you think, if this all goes pear-shaped?
Well, that's quite an interesting question, isn't it? We've just been down, and I tell you what, I quite enjoyed it. All the away games, had some fantastic days at places like Fulham and Brentford, and QBR was my favourite. A scorching day, was it 5-0 or something? It was brilliant.
Rich Noble says all the Toonami should go down to the Premier League office. Have you had anybody come down to see you when you were outside there?
I mean, the first day, right? I thought, if I can get one other person, and then I sort of just about jacked in at 6:30, and just over the bridge, I saw these two lads walking across. One with a Newcastle top on. Just honestly, my heart just leapt. I was like, get in. And anyway, some lad turned up who just lived around the corner, him and his brother. He didn't want us to show his face, because he'd got a decent job down there, and he didn't want all the grief that you get on Twitter, basically. And so I just took a photo of him on the back. He said he'd come along when I want him to and stuff. But yeah, so it was really nice to see somebody.
Liam, who's a West Ham fan, says, I feel for you guys. I know what it's like to have crap owners. It's not like the Premier League cares about human rights abuses, because if they did, then Man City would be in League One. Good point. Thanks for joining, Liam. Hope you're enjoying the show. Rafa Benitez, as God said, well said, Tyler. Just backing you up again. Ian says, top man and balls of steel. Cheers to Hadaway, man. Jason Carter suggests that we get Tony Blair on board. He says Tony Blair is a Newcastle fan. He should play war again. We've had too many politics in this takeover, Jason. We don't need to go down that route again. Bravo Mo says, good evening from Detroit, USA. Can BN Sports Qatar impact the takeover, resulting in rejection? Is there a way that the EPL approves takeover despite BN Sports issues? Well, this is what Mirdad was tweeting, wasn't it? I mean, the piracy seems to have played a part. But what seems to have been the stalling point on this, Tyler, is the Premiership insisting that the Saudi state are the owners and not PIF, and getting them to commit to that on paper. And I think it's been an insult too far to Saudi. And I think what they've done is they've said, look, stick this. We'll step back and let you take a lot of grief. I think that's what they've done. I think it's a big power play on behalf of them. Saudi don't look like bullies. They've stepped back. They've done everything. They've complied with everything. Now they're going to let the fans do the work.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, or it could be a strategic move. And, if it is a strategic move, then I'm really happy. I mean, basically, I don't think the Premier League can refuse this deal to go through. And I think, there's either going to be a court case or it's going to get approved. And I think that PIF stepping back, I think what it's done is given them a chance to gain some real support and some real traction for any court case that comes up.
Sean Foreman asks a good question. Evening, Sean. He says, do you think this comes back down to North versus South divide that people talk about? Imagine the investment the Northeast would get with Saudi investment. You're a Newcastle fan. You live in the South. Is the North-South divide still a thing?
Well, it's, if you're talking about London, central London, it's, most Londoners have been pushed out of there, to be quite honest. And I do feel sorry for them. They've got no home. And yeah, it's far easier here. It's far easier to make money. It's far easier. There's more. There's all this sort of stuff. However, not everybody's rich, and there's a lot of deprivation in certain areas. My business, what I do is I advise London boroughs. I advise the government. I'm a consultant in regeneration on culture and heritage, and I built my business down here, helping areas that have deprivation. Started out in the Newsburn many years ago in Newcastle. Look at it now. All those buildings weren't there when I used to work up there. And we're trying to transform those areas, but not everybody's rich here. There really is some deprivation. But you can't, you can't compare it, because people in jobs, they're just different. They don't worry as much because they know they'll lose their job. They can get a job like 2 days later. It's a different scenario.
82,235 have now signed the petition, and 4,048 letters have been sent. Keep those letters going in via the NUFC link on their Twitter, and also keep the signatures going in on the change.org petition. Tony Colt says Premier League are using political reasons to block the takeover, so the government should now get involved. It's not just a football matter anymore. Good point. We've also got Graham Dougal, who says the Premier League have managed to unite a fan base, supporters groups and members of both sides of the political spectrum. Well done. Massive positive that. Yeah, I mean, there has been big divides in our fan base for years, Tyler. I know you're pretty new to this, coming out and doing something positive like this. But to be on a Zoom chat like I was last night with 25 different supporters groups, all speaking, very eloquently and all agreeing to the same course of action. I've never known that in Newcastle. I've known plenty of meetings at the Irish club where people turn up, get a lot off their chest by shouting and bawling, and then nothing really ever gets done. But this is the time that I can recall in my protest history, if you like, that Newcastle fans seem to be finally united, all at the same goal.
Brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I think, with any new owner or whatever, we need to have a governance structure, and everybody needs to be behind it.
Yeah, I 100% agree, mate. 100% agree. Lots of questions coming in. We will get through them all, guys. Please don't forget as well, make sure you share, hit the little thumb, give it a like. It does help us. We don't charge for these shows, guys. Obviously, we have adverts when you rewatch, which gives us a little bit of income. But I've got to buy a new microphone because everyone's sick of not being able to hear us all the time. So I will be getting a microphone at some point in the next few days. Lots of positive messages coming in, though. Tyler is a legend, doing a class job, says Paul. Forget the haters. AJ says ignore the trolls. Jason says, Tyler, those Mackems are just the gift that keep on giving. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Chris asks,
one thing on the Mackems there. I mean, it is to be expected to a certain degree. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Down to League One, and then their rival, a fiercest rival, is actually going to be one of the best clubs in the world. It's imagine if it was the other way around. It doesn't bear thinking about, really.
No, definitely not.
So where I come from, I actually studied in Sunderland. I got a degree there, and I do have some friends from Sunderland. I mean, they're all a bit weird, to be honest. but no, put yourself in their shoes, but try and find one that hasn't got stinky shoes.
Or suitable for webbed feet. We'll leave it there. Christopher says, what is Tyler's favourite tune memory?
Favourite tune memory? I quite liked when I was a kid and Gaza sat on the ball. Can't remember which game it was. I'm not much of a stato in terms of that sort of stuff, but I used to love watching Peter Beardsley, Gaza, all those lot when I was when I first started going to match. My best mate, his dad was a copper. He used to get us in for out when he was working there. And my other mate was his parents owned a fish and chip shop, and so we used to get free fish and chips. And my mate got us in got his info now, and I used to supply I used to split up 10 Regal king size. luckily gave that one up.
Jason Carter says you should make your book titled The Takeover Simulation. Definitely a book in that. It's felt like a science fiction film, to be fair. Rafa Benitez as God says, we want you on permanently. It's Maz says, #cans. Sir Percy says, I'm going to buy his book, drop a link when it's published, which is very nice. So you've already got your first copy sold. Charles Barnes says, has Boris got the power to make the takeover happen? If he makes as good a job of it as he's doing with the current running of the country, mind, and I would very much doubt it. I think we'll need to leave it to the local MPs, though, to crank the pressure up. Little Musgrave says, I don't even think Ashley would be daft enough to purposely try and rob from the Saudi royal family, to be honest. Well, I think with Ashley, I think the ball's in his court, Tyler. I think essentially he can make a big difference in this whole scenario by turning the corkscrews on Richard Masters a little bit and saying that you're depriving me from selling this football club.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing we are agreed on at the moment with that, is with Mike Ashley. Really, it's not often we've done that recently. Even he's on board. But yeah, I think if he could, exactly as you say, turn the corkscrew on him. Yeah.
Yeah, John Zuckerman says Tyler did the work that journalists should have done 2 months ago. The league's intentional delay tactics have harmed the club for the upcoming season. Marty Lawrence says, well done, Tyler. Agreeing to meet you would be a perfect opportunity for Masters to try and score some PR points. Do you think this is likely? So I suppose we know that it's coming to an end for you. We're halfway through the week. I think you said you're going to stay at probably the end of the week. Do you think you'll see Richard Masters?
No chance. I think this man, he doesn't give a shit. He's bothered about him. He's bothered about how he looks. He gets paid a fortune. He's not really interested, and never going to meet somebody like me because he doesn't know what I'm going to say, and
Yeah. I mean, you never know. It might be one of those moments. It could definitely be made into a documentary. When Harry Met Sally kind of style or something like that, So Simon Cox says, plant the porridge dust on Richard Masters and get him done for dealing, which is a great idea. The porridge story certainly tickled a few people. Christopher says, Takeover is still active, so Masters will not comment. What else have we got? Porridge dust. There are some dealers renaming their stock as we speak. It's Maz says, I'm a massive snowflake. I've blocked him on Twitter. You must have done something wrong, mate, or I've hit the wrong person. Well, maybe his inbox is on different social media, and we'll see what the crack is. Karen says, did any more Newcastle fans turn up? Yes, Karen, he mentioned that earlier on. We did have a few extra Newcastle fans.
Did you hear the Cure song? I'll not do it again because I'm not much of a singer, but the last bit was, they're coming down on Friday.
Right. Okay. That's good. So, look, at the end of the day, fantastic what you're doing. So Percy says, put in a request to interview Ashley, recorded, not live. Yeah, I don't think we'll get much joy from that. A lot of the local journalists have been trying to do that for years. I'm not sure Ashley would like to sit down with me, but you never know. It might be worth a cheeky ask. Paul McVeigh says, Masters is nothing but a coward. Brandon Weir says, Tyler, you're a top man. What song are you singing into the intercom tomorrow?
I'll have a think.
You'll have a think.
Don't know.
Jake says, keep chucking your verbal hand grenades and keep them on the back foot. Jack Sparrow says, Masters is running from some home truths from real people. Keep it up, Tyler. Takeover is well and truly still alive, says Jonathan Young. And Aaron Young says, if there's a court case and PIF win, would they still be able to buy us? Yeah, I don't think there'd be any issue with that. But I don't think it's going to come to a court case. And I think what's starting to come out here as well, Tyler, is all the connections to this takeover and the Premier League. I mean, Barclays are one of the biggest sponsors of the Premier League. And, of course, Amanda Staveley is currently going through a trial against Barclays in court, isn't she, in London?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's all a bit suspicious. Funnily enough, my Barclay card, you know, when you use it too many times and you've got to put it into the thing and press the number in. Well, that happened to me today, and I got a bit paranoid.
Mark Nicholas says, are you going to the AGM tomorrow?
AGM?
There must be a Premier League AGM tomorrow, I think. It's in London at the 6th. So you might see Richard Masters tomorrow.
Bloody hell. Well, yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably. They'll probably invite me in, you know, do a guest spot.
Get your Newcastle top on for that one tomorrow, mate, if the papers are there, because I think there'll be a few media down there. Might be worth getting your top on, mate. Definitely. Okay. Kieran says the Mackham should look positively about the takeover. They should think of the major investment of the Northeast as a whole, and it could even attract a takeover for themselves. Great show. That's a really interesting point, Kieran. Thanks for sending that in, mate. And you know, joking aside, we do have rivalry with Sunderland, but you know, that's a very mature one, that is, I've got to say. Manly Stabley's Black and White Army. Yes, we hope so. Trolls says, feels like Masters is the Emperor in Star Wars, only the Emperor looked better. I can remember Emperor, I think it's Emperor Ming, wasn't it, on Flash Gordon. I've seen the latest spitting image puppets, actually. The photographs were released today. I don't know whether you've seen them, Tyler, but they're bringing spitting image back. But they're bringing it as a modern day, and they released the three puppets. One of them was Boris Johnson, who looked like his dad, which I think was quite deliberate. They also brought out one of Prince Andrew, probably the most like the one that looks most like him, and the other one was Dominic Cummings. And the reason I went off on that thing was he looked like Ming the Merciless. He actually looks like the villain. He's got the big cape and everything, you know. So that's going to be out later this year. I'm sure that'll be quite interesting for us of a certain vintage. Lee says every dog has their day. We are due big style, lads. Rohan says, hopefully Ashley goes to the AGM and roasts all the teams. Yeah, interesting. We have people who watch planes. Darren Carter is on, and he's obviously put something up there today about Mike Ashley's jet is on the way to Miami, and some people always think that means he's going to get picked up and brought back over. Yeah, that would be interesting if Mike Ashley turns up tomorrow. Tyler, what would you say to him?
Excuse me, I got a bit of a cough.
No worries.
It's not COVID, honest. I hope I haven't infected all the bloody Premier League with COVID. Anyway, sorry, what did I say to Mike Ashley? I don't know. Fuck off. Sorry. I've got no idea what I'd say to him, to be honest. I've never met the guy. Don't know what he's like. Sure, he's a lovely man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's there tomorrow. This is a godsend for you, and you didn't even know it was happening. So happy days! It just shows you've gone down there with no aims really, other than meet Richard Masters and put your point across. But now you get a chance to put a point across to all 20 members clubs, and possibly even bump into Mike Ashley and Richard Masters. So this could be the big day. So fingers crossed. We'll be watching these videos with interest tomorrow. Richard says, what did I think about Mirdad's tweet? Yes, listen, very interesting what Mirdad and Jimmy Rubin has tweeted. And of course, the Rubin statement that went out the other day. You've got to be enthused by it. This isn't all doom and gloom, is it? But I'm not going to get too carried away, guys. I went through 17 weeks of telling everybody it was 100% because I genuinely felt the takeover would go through. I'm not going to give anybody false hope, but you know, what people say on Twitter is said for a reason. What that reason is, who knows? So let's see what happens. And obviously the reaction of the supporters and and what the trust have done by getting the supporters together is a massive positive. You know, we've got 4,083 letters sent now. And as I keep saying, the petition is going up every second with this countless people signing it. So we're now up to 82,295. So, you know, it is slower. That's understandable, but it is cracking on, and we're getting closer to 100,000, you know, every second that we're on this show. Paul Shank says, Tyler's a top bloke. Is there a Premier League meeting tomorrow? Yes, there is. Jason says it will be interesting to see how Tyler, Hasty and Mitch get along. Would be good crack. Well, yeah, always up for it if you're up for it, mate. Getting you on a Friday 1 week once you're back home to your good lady and back on writing your book. We might get you on a Friday night, Tyler, if you're up for it.
I'm up for that, guy. Yeah, why not?
Jack Sparrow says, do you think Ashley will be at the AGM in person? I don't think so. I think it would probably be Lee Charnley, but you never know. Every dog has its day, says Lee. Paul Evans says, AGM meeting is involving all clubs about the proposed 5 subs for next season. Keep up the good work, Tyler. Top man. So plenty, as I say, plenty support. Egon says Cummins is more like Mega Mind. Rafa obviously found that funny. Bay Square just read the AGM is by video link. Oh, never mind. Well, you never know. There will still have to be somebody using the computers down there. So Masters might still be down there. You never know. Can't wait to see Taylor's report live from the AGM. They can't hide forever. Chris says petition signed here in Guernsey. Get Ashley out and the Saudis in. Brandon says, Steve, why do you think the Premier League haven't come out and mentioned anything at all? And question to Tyler also, I still believe. So why do you think the Premier League haven't come out and said anything, Tyler?
I've got no idea. I really don't know. I mean, they've got nothing to gain by saying something, really.
A lot of people seem to think it's potentially because PIF haven't physically withdrawn, which would make sense, you know. But there again, the Premier League have said nothing throughout the whole process, Brandon. So maybe that's why. Close says, feels like half the, me included, going to need a shrink to help with mental problems after this. Yeah, I understand you know that we've covered that on the show before about mental health, very important. I know we've got Daniel who's coming back on Friday, who a lot of people really enjoyed on Friday night to give advice and have a chat about the mental health aspect. Chris says, do you not think the main reason for PIF pulling out publicly was to mainly break the NDA and get the fans on board to pile pressure on the Premier League? I suppose, again, like you said, Tyler, that's a tactic, isn't it, possibly? Slight delay, Tyler. Do you think that's a possible tactic? The hotel internet's going slightly awry now, so maybe it's yeah, you're back in the room now, I think. The question for you there, do you think that the main reason for PIF pulling out publicly was to break the NDA, Tyler? He's struggling a little bit now. Can you hear me, Tyler?
I can now, yeah. Sorry about that.
Don't worry.
Hotel
internet. Do you think the main reason for PIF pulling out publicly was to break the NDA and get the fans on board, do you think?
Possibly could be, yeah. That's kind of what I was alluding to. Not just the fans. I mean, the fans are always going to be on board, but we've got city councils. We've got, you know, Pat Ritchie, who's telling the government. She's got loads of contacts, you know, really at the highest level. We are on the daily basis now drumming up huge amounts of support, and that will be really useful in the future.
Yeah, question there from SP before asking, do I think that Ashley's got his lawyers working on this? Look, I would imagine he has. You know, the good thing about that statement from Mike Ashley the other day via Lee Charnley was essentially, you know, that never say never, and that he wanted the Saudi deal to go through. And I think that's massively, massively beneficial for this takeover. It shows that this is the deal he wants. And don't forget, Ashley's been hit hard during the pandemic. You know, he spent a lot of money on retail over the last few years, and suddenly retail is not what it was, you know, pre-pandemic. So we're now in a position where he's bought a lot of businesses, some of them ailing businesses to start with, and now they're suffering even greater, you know, and we're seeing redundancies after redundancies at various places. We're seeing companies go bust. Mike Ashley's got a big problem on his hands, and you know, his core business, of course, as we all know, is a sports outlet, which I never like to mention because I don't like to give many publicity. It's, you know, it's suffering. It will be suffering like everywhere else. So I think it's a big, you know, it's a big issue for him, and he needs this deal to go through. He says, if all this crap happened on the open cast, the lads would smash the windows out. Steve Owen Hughley says, if we keep it up and get this passed, we can be proud of whatever we did individually and know that we are united. Yeah, it's a big thing, this, with the supporters. It has to be said. Ian says, does Tyler have permission to go to the Premier League AGM from Liverpool and Spurs? Chris says it's a confidential process. Barry says, more importantly, why has Keys not said anything? Yeah, Richard Keys, let's talk about him, Tyler. He's been quite prolific through this whole takeover, but now we've not heard a word from him.
No, it's very strange, isn't it? I can't work it out, really, to be honest. I mean, what's going on there? I mean, I know that kind of like Qatar and Saudi, this is kind of a proxy war for them almost. But I can't work out why Richard's gone quiet or all that stuff.
Very, very strange as to why that happened. It is very, very strange. And Michelle says, is it because there's still a possibility of a takeover that the Premier League haven't spoken yet? I think what Chris said before, it's a confidential process, and that's why there's been no confirmation. Daniel, cheers, mate. We'll see you on Friday night. Should Richard Keys lose his job? He's a journalist, isn't he, Tyler? He can say really what he wants, and we've seen some pretty horrific journalism over this last 17 weeks, from certain people. I saw somebody ask if I wanted to kick Luke Edwards in the balls. Well, no, I don't. I'm quite happy winning me Toon Polls award for winning a Twitter battle. So I don't want to do anything like that. As I've said before, Luke, I like Luke normally. He's a great journalist, but I just disagree with everything he says at the minute. Richard Keys, should he lose his job? Look, he's a journalist. He's there to wind you up. He's there to get clicks. And, it's not probably 5 minutes since Simon Jordan was probably getting the same kind of stick and pelt as from Newcastle fans. He seems to be for this. And somebody sent me something today, Tyler, where he was speaking on Talk Sport, mentioned me and mentioned the takeover, and he was championing the takeover and saying it should go through.
Wow. I mean, he's a journalist, and I'm a believer in free speech. I think in this world today, we're told we can't say a lot of stuff, and I think journalists need to be able to say what they want to say. Really, not a massively political person, but free speech is one of the things I believe in.
Katie's asking. Katie Hire, she does ladies' night with me and the girls on a regular basis on NUFC Matters. She's asking, are you planning on doing any other interviews?
Who, me? Well, to be honest, I'm certainly not wanting to make a career out of Twitter. I'm a sort of bloke who can get up and do something if I have to, but this is hard slog. I've got massive respect for all these people who do stuff on Twitter. That's not where my skill set is. I've worked me arse off for the last 10 years, and I might have a bit of a break for a couple of years because my business is probably going to struggle with after COVID, to be quite honest. But Twitter, no. Going to write me book. Buy it when it comes out.
Good stuff. When you talk about Lamb, you talk about Min Source. When you talk about Richard Keys, you talk about Gary Hoffman, says Kirk. Very apt. Yeah, Gary, of course, coming in as well to the Premier League, and I think the Trust already have him in the sights as well. Michelle Mann, Richard Keys is very quiet, as is being Sports at the minute. They couldn't get through a programme without mentioning Newcastle and the takeover. Probably hasn't helped either that we've got no football now, so Richard's probably on his holidays. Christopher says Richard Keys and Miguel Delaney are outside Old Trafford picketing for Saudis to buy Man U. Yeah, I did see Delaney's comment, very tongue-in-cheek, but again, done deliberately to wind Newcastle fans up. Peter Harrison says Keys has probably been told to shut up, letting too many know his connection with the Premier League, possibly. Ronnie says, why do people not want to acknowledge us fans? Utter silence from Ashley in the Premier League, just say yes or no. Ashley has come out, although it was only a few words by Lee Johnny, but at least he has commented, and as I said before, it was quite positive. Nicholas says Tyler should go to the joke shop in Soho and buy a pair of gorilla gloves for a laugh. Is that in the book, Tyler?
That's a great idea. A fantastic idea.
I saw the barber cap. I know somebody who's quite high up in barber, so I will point him in the direction of that video. You might get a couple of things out of that, mate. So I'll do my best for you. Mark says, who was that journo today from the Guardian? Yeah, there was a little snide piece. It was, to be fair, it's in a what you would call a bit of a satirical piece in the Guardian, but I think just putting something like that on when Newcastle fans are up a height is out of order, really. It did wind everybody up. Kenneth Stark, the Premier League, no, Newcastle would be massive with investment. Majority public going mad with joy. They don't want it. They're jealous as hell of this great club. It is disgraceful. Travel chasing. If Saudi Arabia is here, say now, what options are there for the takeover? Great show, guys. Thanks. Yeah, look, I don't think it's hearsay travel chasing. I think we've still got a battle on our hands here. That's why the supporters are continuing to send letters in. 4,098 letters now. It keeps going up. The petition's up to 82,320. Still going up. So keep going. Keep signing the petition. Keep sending those letters to the MPs. Great stuff. Dunhill says, well done, Tyler. And man who cares. Steve, what's your thoughts on the Guardian's words today in their transfer news? Was shocked myself. Yeah, we just discussed that, Steve. I was disgusted by it, mate, to be fair. That's why I put that out. Tim asks, what is Tyler's favourite tune chant?
That's a difficult one. Different answers. Too many to mention. Like them all. You know, you kind of beat the blade and races sometimes, but I just you know, Geordies, like that basically.
Yeah, good stuff.
I love an away game. Love an away game where everybody sings. That's why I don't go to home games. You know.
Yeah, Jonathan says, great chat again. Let's just hope Ashley has his lawyers at the ready to contest Matt, to think he could be our saviour after all these years of mediocre ownership. Keys has been told to shut his mouth. That seems to be the general opinion. Thought on Amnesty International writing to Newcastle Council warning them to avoid involvement, reported in the Chronicle tonight. Yes, Maureen, I did see that. I was speaking to you before we came on, Tyler, about that. Amnesty, obviously, look, we respect Amnesty for what they do. You know, with other situations, but this is the second time they've got involved in this takeover. They're advising, I think, you know, advising the council not to get involved. But I think I said to you, we should get the councils involved, because my understanding of this is the business deal between, you know, PIF, PCP, and the Rubens and Mike Ashley. Is there anything stopping at all them doing the deal and saying to the Premier League, we've exchanged shares, we've done the deal, let's crack on, and contacting the Premier League and saying, tell us what you need us to do? Because, you know, from my perspective, if they're trying to stop them running the football club, then, you know, they can't do that. I think they'll end up in a big minefield, you know, and I think that's why this does genuinely seem as if it's a bit of brinkmanship. I've seen somebody mention it there. I think we could be entering an interesting phase in this, Tyler, and I think you've played your part admirably. Do you think the same?
Well, I definitely think that you know, that sounds like a feasible idea. You know, it's basically anybody can buy and sell shares. So that will put the Premier League in some position, I tell you. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, Geordie says Newcastle Council should be involved because if this takeover goes through, they'll benefit from the takeover as well as the football club. Pat Ritchie said that today as well, 100%. Amnesty don't seem to recognise this takeover would improve the quality of life in North East, pretty much going against their views, says Rohan Gulliver. A lot of people saying well done to Fulham. Yeah, congratulations to them. Steve Bennett, but Amnesty not objecting to selling of arms. Where is their priority? Yes, that always comes back. Where's Henry?
Sorry, mate, for cutting you. Do they object to all the universities, BT and all the rest of them getting Saudi funding? No, they don't.
Yeah, exactly, mate. It's a farce, man. It's a farce. Chris Linney, where's Henry Morris? Well, exactly, mate. And Luke Edwards will, you know, he'll have to fall on his sword with this Henry Morris, you know, story, because it's just not something that's coming up. And yeah, just lots of positivity for you, Tyler, which is great, mate. We're coming towards the end of the show. You've obviously plugged in. Oh yes, exactly. Tequila time. I wish you could pass one over, mate. I'd have one with you. Thanks for coming on. What's the plan? So you're gonna pop down there again tomorrow. You're gonna be there at the end of the week, mate. Anything you want to say to the Newcastle fans who are watching tonight? We've had over 600 watching tonight, and we always average about 4,000 views. So any message you want to get out to the Newcastle fans who've sent you the support tonight and on Twitter?
just say big love to all of you for supporting us. You know, had a load of grief on Twitter. I mean, you know, I'm pretty hard-skinned, so just goes over my head really. But thank you very, very much. Appreciate it, and let's hope we can do it. Let's hope we can get there.
Yeah, everyone's saying the same. Proud of you. Well done, mate. Listen, thank you for giving me the exclusive interview, mate. I really appreciate that. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. My dad passes on his best as well, so and he says keep going. You've done a great job. So thanks very much, mate, for coming on. And you enjoy your tequila tonight.
Well, thank you. And you know, the reason I chose you is because you're a trustworthy guy. I know you get some people sniping at you because of the type of stuff you cover with, you know, some of the criminal stuff. But that's not you. You know, you are a trustworthy, lovely guy, and thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much, Tyler. You have a good night. Take care. Good night.